Happy Friday. Hopefully, everyone has an awesome weekend ahead of them. I don't know what I'm going to be doing other than sitting at home wishing for cooler weather. Now, some would say that it's a human's fault that it's 100 degrees in the middle of summer in Texas. That that's our fault for creating global warming, but it is the middle of summer in Texas. And newsflash, well, not so newsflash, summers are hot in Texas. It may not be a hot like a desert of Arizona or hot like the desert of Iraq, but it gets a little toasty here in Texas. So it's to be expected, which means I'm not going to go out to my property, which is a shame because I really want to go out there. I just don't like the 100-degree plus weather that we're having. But with that being said, nothing's more hotter than the good old gun debate to rile people up. That's right. People really love the debate. You got people that says, shall not be infringed from my gold dead hand. And you got the other crowd saying, when is enough enough? How many kids have to die? How many kids do we have to bury before you give up your God given right for self defense with a weapon? Stop being selfish and pass laws to protect us so the government can sweep in and control your lives. Because that's what governments do. Governments don't give freedoms. Governments govern people, which is another term to control people. And sometimes the only thing that's stopping a bad government from taking over is an armed populace. Man, boy, can I rant. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the Hills story. The House Democrats tee up last minute vote Friday on assault weapons ban to infringe on our rights. I mean, sure, the military and National Guard have aircraft, they have helicopters, they have nukes, they have missiles, they have tanks, and all we have is guns that probably won't do much damage, but you know what else? He didn't have much, didn't have the same, the equipment that we had? Iraq, Afghanistan. You got a bunch of people in flip flops and man dresses taking us to town with AK 47s. The real AK 47s, the ones that went rat tat 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 tat. Not the ones that went rat rat like we do. Anyways, let's go ahead and get with the story. It's Friday. House Democrats announced last minute in the bill vote last minute on the ban assault weapons on Friday, looking to pass the highly anticipated legislation before the lawmakers break for the August recess. Because they just want to take away our rights, because in order to control us, govern us, we have to have less rights. That's how I'm interpreting it. In a letter to colleagues just after 11 a.m. Friday, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, hope she loses, said that the House would vote on the assault weapons ban that afternoon, calling legislation a crucial step on our ongoing fight against the deadly epidemic of gun violence in our nation, while demonizing cops. While demonizing cops, demonizing white people, demonizing anything that doesn't get them votes. Instead of fixing the issue, you're going to make the issue worse. Because you're going to have a serial killer, and maybe the serial killer would have gotten capped, but instead you took away my guns. Because they are going after your guns. They want all your guns taken. They don't want any new guns sold. Because they want to be the ones with the guns. I'm very biased when it comes to this. I acknowledge I'm a gun owner. I'm very biased. The House took a key step forward, or towards passing the assault weapons ban on Friday morning, approving a resolution for the same-day authority that allows the chamber to fast-track its top priorities. The chamber approved a resolution largely by party line 2018 to 206, which is a big surprise because, this is why I hate the two-party system. If it wasn't for two-party systems, probably a lot of crap would not have gotten passed. Or maybe a lot of crap would have gotten passed. I don't know. Reps Jared Golden, Maine, and Kirk Schroeder, Oregon, were the only two Democrats that opposed the measure because they see this what it is, most likely. The House slated to debate on the vote on the bill later Friday. During her weekly press conference on Friday, Pelosi says that she expects the measure to pass. But will it pass the Senate? The House Judiciary Committee advanced the assault weapons ban last week, which was the first time in more than 20 years that a congressional panel moved a measure to outlaw the sale and transfer of possession of a popular firearm. Democrats last enacted an assault weapons ban in 1994, but expired 10 years later because there was a study formed before they let it lapse. And the fact that there's too many data points to say whether or not it had an impact or not. It could have had an impact. We will never know because the people were able to keep their AR-15s. So it was kind of it could have worked. It may not have worked. There probably was cases where it did work, but there's not enough data points. Pelosi announced on Wednesday that the House would delay votes on the assault weapons ban and community safety legislation to give lawmakers more time to negotiate remaining disagreements on police provisions. Democrats initially planned to move the assault weapons ban and community safety legislation under the same rule, but some liberals have raised issues with the lack of accountability in the police bills. Pelosi ultimately decided to separate the two measures and take up the assault weapons ban on Friday, punting the police funding legislation to a later date. Pelosi on Friday said that the House will take up the police funding public safety measures in the second week of August when the lower chamber reconvenes and considered other legislation. Liberal Democrats, particularly those in the Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, have been opposed to the idea of providing local police agencies with more funding without guardrails and enhanced oversight measures designed to rein in police abuse, which disproportionately affects minority communities. As a white man, I'm kind of biased towards this, but I understand that there's a dilemma here because you got generational hatred from the black community because us white folks historically hasn't treated any minority with respect, not even our own people with respect. There's a history of that. But I am going to say that it's time to take the kids' gloves off and start being a man. Put on your freaking adult pants and take matters into your own hand and raise your kids with respect for law enforcement. Teach your kids not to be criminals. At a certain point, we're going to have to hold them, certain minority group, which is the black community or the African black community, whatever they want to be labeled these days, accountable for their own actions. I get it. Our history with a certain group wasn't the most ideal. We enslaved you. We freed you. We fought a war over you. A lot of people died over you. Not to mention, I do understand there was the civil rights era, which was, I think that was 1950s, 1960s. It is now 2020s. It's time to move on. It's really time for you guys to take the initiative and become the better selves that you're meant to be. Hispanics have been doing it. The Asian community has done it. Hell, the Asian communities probably had it slightly worse than you, only because they were paid but not really paid. They were pretty much slave wages for the Asian communities that took jobs from the black community at that time, but yet they were able to reinvent themselves through food. It's time. It's time for you guys to move on. Rep. Joyce Betty of Detroit, Ohio, who leads the CBC, had a long discussion Thursday with Rep. Abigail Spanberger, a principal sponsor of one of the policing bills, to work out the kinks. And during the House vote Friday morning, Betty and other members of the CBC met for another lengthy talk with Rep. Josh Gotthemeyer, Detroit, New Jersey, who has sponsored another piece of the policing package. Rep. Jim McGovern, Massachusetts, chairman of the House Committee Rules, said the negotiations need a little bit more time to work out the wrinkles. All those wrinkles. We're developing some consensus around it. McGovern said they're working on accountability and they're making progress. But we don't know what it's going to be into. We're developing some sense of it, working on it, making progress. With that in mind, the vote on the community safety package will likely come in 2 weeks, McGovern said, and when the House is expected to return into Washington to consider climate, health, and tax package that the Senate is taking up next week. Providing that nobody else in the Senate gets COVID. Providing nobody else in the Senate gets COVID, the skies are clear so they can land. And they're going to get the paperwork over us and then we'll return. Won't be until next week or it'll be the week after. Mike Lills contribute updated 1:46 p.m. The Hill has removed the comment section as there were many forums for readers to participate in this conversation. We invite you to join the discussion on Twitter or Facebook. Pretty much they don't want comment sections because they don't want open Discord out within their own site. I get it. Comment sections on news articles have been going away. But at least they gave us a little header down below. But anyways, like I said, I do care about the police funding bill. I just don't have a whole lot of information onto it. But I do know that Jerry Nadler tanked this bill. He tainted it, and if it does get passed, he gave a good grounds for legal measures for it to be removed and struck as unconstitutional because he is trying to remove a gun that is in common use. Now, I get it. People don't like the AR-15. I get it. People don't like the AK-47. I get that. And I understand that there's a lot of hurt happening, especially around kids being shot up in the school. Nobody likes that. Nobody with a heart wants to see more harm done. And there's ways to protect the kids that we're asking before we just ban the tool or blame the tool. Like holding principals accountable for not keeping their schools safe by making sure doors have working locks on them. That is holding police chiefs accountable for when they get on scene and not act like a police chief. There's ways to hold people accountable to address certain issues and certain failures that have happened. But that doesn't change the fact that monsters are going to be monsters. Regardless, monsters are going to find a way. Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber, took a vehicle with a fertilizer bomb and blew up the face of a federal building. So monsters are going to find a way. Now I know Someone made a comment on one of my videos about the access to guns. But if you really want to get into the grit of it, to the details, it is actually harder to get a gun today than it was in years. Mainly thanks to prohibition and the rise of the gangsters in Chicago and New York, where we can no longer go to our Sears hardware store and pick up a typewriter, which is the Tommy gun, because that has been outlawed now. That some may say that is a restriction or infringement. I don't know. You used to be able to go to a mail-in catalog and purchase your gun, and it's mailed into your front door. And for those people that's saying that it's easy to get a gun, that's because you have no criminal record. That's because you have a valid ID that shows your current home address. Now, if you were a felon and it was properly documented within the system that you are a felon, you shouldn't be able to get a gun, and a background check will prevent that. And now for the people that says you could order a gun online and pick it up, which is without background check, which is true. You can go to a gun site, pick your gun, pay for it without a background check, but then it goes to a FFL, which is mostly a gun store, which will do a background check there. And if you fail your background check, then you pay a fee. The gun is not yours, and you walk out without a weapon. Anyways, that's my video for Friday. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. Am I being too unreasonable? Am I being too harsh to a certain minority community by telling them to join the rest of the nation and be responsible adults? It's time to leave the past in the past. Am I being unreasonable? I mean, I do understand the history, and I do think it sucks that the history is the way it is. But stop committing crimes. Stop using racism as a crux for not being able to get ahead. Hell, there's plenty of people in Congress that have that skin tone. There's plenty of people with that same ethnic background in your local government. There's CEOs with that ethnic background as you and the same skin tones. Hell, we had a President Obama that should have ended any and all discussions under racism, but instead he inflamed the flames. Anyways, leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. And smash the like and subscribe button on any and all platforms because it helps your algorithms. If you choose to do so on any and all the platforms, or just the platform you're currently watching. But most importantly, if you live in the Texas area, drink water, drink more water, and when you get done drinking water, drink some more. And when you go pee, drink some more throughout the weekend. Or if you're in another area that's warm. And also have yourself a wonderful, awesome, enjoyable weekend. Whether it's you being lazy or getting something done.